Welcome to the Popish Plot. I'm Jessica. It's another episode of the Summer Book Club. Today we are going to be dealing with Chapter 7 in the book, or, as I'm calling it, School's Not Out for Summer. Now, if you have not watched the other episodes in the Summer Book Club, this is a collaboration that a handful of YouTubers are doing. We are all reading the Handbook for Catholic Moms. You do not need to go and read it in order to follow along, because for every single chapter we're all posting a video about our thoughts, anything that we found important, things of how it relates to our life, and so forth. So if you go down below, there'll be links to all the other YouTubers so you can watch their video on what they thought about Chapter 7. Now, Chapter 7 is the first chapter in Part 2 of the book on the mind, and it is on being a lifelong learner. The actual title that they gave was School's Never Out. However, I'm sure many of you know the Alice Cooper song, and when I read this I thought about it because our church had a school that the school itself has been closed down for a few years. It was built in the 40s, and the diocese decided that they were going to tear down the school because the cost of actually just keeping the lights on and, just the very minor repairs, not even keeping it up to current codes, but just letting everything that's been grandfathered in stay, is such that they're like, we're just going to tear the whole school down. Now, as soon as this became public knowledge, because it was known in certain groups before the official announcement that let everyone know about it, so Nate happened to write a few of those lyrics on the chalkboard in the room that we were meeting for a Bible study, and it wasn't until last week, which is quite possibly the next to last time that we will be in that building, that someone noticed, hey, someone put some lyrics on the board. And so I immediately thought of that as, well, he put the lyrics up because if you listen to the whole song, it seems apropos for a school that is literally going to get torn down sometime in the near future for it to note the school's out. Anyway, back to the actual section of the book on learning. The author makes a point about how important it is to always be learning, and talks about different ways in which one as a mother is both always teaching their kids and always learning and relearning things as they do new activities. So, like, if you have a small child, you might suddenly relearn all the stuff about dinosaurs that you've forgotten about since you were, a small child yourself. And then it also points out the very important fact that you should always be learning more on your faith. With the example that they used about the time when one of her children had a question on married priests, so they spent time in the catechism discussing that. Which I find humorous because in just the summer book club group alone, there are at least 2 of us who have married priests. My current priest is married, and Lauren from the Crunchy Catholics also at least had a married priest. Because there are 3 levels of church teaching: dogma, doctrine, and discipline. Now, dogma is those things that you need to believe in order to be a Catholic. It's something that's unchangeable. The Pope can't suddenly decide, the Trinity is really complicated, let's get rid of that. Level 2 is doctrine, which is, not quite the same level as dogma. It'll be things like beliefs that pertain to the moral life and not the actual faith itself. Or it could be things that they're not core beliefs, but they're important, necessary beliefs to connect with the core belief. It's that information that makes all the different pinpoints of the dogmas make sense, but it's not at the level of dogma itself. But as you could probably guess, due to the fact that 2 out of half a dozen people in this small group have married priests, that's not either one of those. That's what's called a discipline, which means it's something that's completely changeable. It's things like what days are holy days of obligation, or what days are fasting days. There are things that can be changed depending on how universal this belief is by your local bishop, by the collection of bishops in your country, or by the Pope. So, in the case of married priest, that's something that the Pope could go and tomorrow say that there can be married priest, and it's a discipline that's changed. And there are numerous cases in which either the discipline has been allowed to not be used. In the case of both our priests, they were converts, and therefore, by special allowance of the Pope of the time, they were allowed to become Catholic priest, having been priest in various churches that were very similar. But there's also all the Eastern churches, which, as far as I know, every single one of them has the discipline that a married man can become a priest, but the bishops are pulled from the monasteries. So, in the Eastern Church, as far as I know, there might be one or two that have different rules and beliefs, because there are, I think, 23 of them, and they each have their own set of particular disciplines. But, and then, for the most part, married priest, completely normal. Married bishop, no. Anyway, so, that was something I found interesting simply because it was on something that wasn't a huge, important Catholic belief. It was on something that it's currently how we do things, but... So, along with pointing out the importance of knowing your faith and constantly learning about your faith, it pointed out just knowledge in general. And she includes lots of ideas on how to be a lifelong learner, including possibly going back to school if there's something that you feel the need to go to school for and it works with your family situation and your budget and so forth, but also other low-cost to free ways that you can be constantly learning. For example, checking books out of the library, checking movies that are, educational movies out of the library, or watching them on various services, getting information online, again, sites that might have educational documentaries, educational podcasts. There are multiple inexpensive to free schools where you can get an online version of a class from a major college or university. It also points out that, you can take your kids to museums and aquariums and zoos and things like that to be educational. And then, as always, it ends with mother's homework and more web resources. And the web resources are divided up fairly equally between things that will help you learn about your faith and things that will help you learn in general. For the homework, it includes lots of useful and helpful ideas for how to learn more, either on a particular topic, to learn things with your kids, or just in general, like visiting a historic site with your children, joining a local book club, either in person or there are numerous online ones. It suggests going to a Bible study, a parish mission, visit your local library and see what they have, and take time to assess what your actual learning goals are, both long and short term, and do realistic steps to achieve them. So, once again, remember there's going to be links to all the other people who are talking about this chapter down below. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and ring the bell to get notified when the next episode is. As usual, the next episode for the Summer Book Club will be this Thursday, because all our episodes for this are coming out on Mondays and Thursday. And until next time, live your faith, love your faith, share that love.